The latest tech.
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
Interviews.
There will be several dozen shows trickling in over the months.
Accessibility.
We're actually running a pilot scheme with the CNIB at the moment.
This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome to another edition of Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am Mark Aflalo, soon to be joined by Stephen Scott. We've got a great show lined up for you today, so if you want to get involved, our email address is feedback@ami.ca. You can go ahead and send us absolutely anything to that address, or on Twitter, it is @DoubleTapCanada, and you can use that hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap. Stephen Scott, how are you feeling this week? I hope you're all pumped and ready to go for yet another edition of Double Tap TV.
Always ready, and this topic is really cutting to the heart of my life at the moment. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into today's show.
Yeah, earlier this year, the world was hit by, this COVID-19 pandemic, which really has shifted the way in which everybody thinks about everything, but specifically, we're going to be talking about working from home, which, you need to kind of give some of a backstory to working from home, because a lot of people are learning this for the first time. I think you and I have done this for a very long time, where we've worked remotely from our employers, sometimes worked in an office, sometimes out of it. From your perspective, Stephen, just working in an office when you are visually impaired, already there is a learning curve that someone has to adjust to when they start off at a new place.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There are no surprise, perhaps, that there are a number of blind and partially sighted people who are in fact self-employed. And they prefer working for themselves, but also having the ability and the flexibility to work from home. Lots of blind people have varying levels of eye conditions, but that can also incur other problems. So, for example, in addition to having vision problems for myself, I also have hypertension, which adds to the sight problems, but also creates headaches and regular problems. So I need regular breaks away from screens, away from any form of light, to make sure that I can keep these levels of hypertension down, these headache levels down. So, it's not just about vision here, although it is a major part of it, and in a lot of cases it's the source of it. But for that reason, being able to work from home does have its benefits, and actually can be something of a real boost to blind and partially sighted people. And that's why for us, what's happened during this whole lockdown period and what's happened in the previous months has really been not a surprise to a lot of us as blind people, of the ways on the things we've had to do to cope with it. In fact, a lot of us, like you say, have been well prepared for this, including me.
Do you find that a lot of people with visual impairments are self-employed because of the comfort level, because they can tailor their environment without feeling like they're imposing on others?
Yeah, and you think about these days especially, where offices have brought in hot desking, where you might be asked just to sit at a desk somewhere, and your job is just to essentially be wherever the desk is. You may work in a cafe one day, or you might work in an office one day, or whatever. That can be quite challenging for a visually impaired person, because ultimately blind people like things all in the same place all of the time. And if everything's constantly shifting and changing and moving and adjusting, you've got to try and keep up with that. That can be a challenge. So for example, a lot of blind people will prefer to have a laptop in the office as opposed to a desktop, because it means then all their settings can be retained irrespective of where they end up sitting. And of course, you then take that home, then it's easy, because you just open up your laptop and you continue your job as you would normally. So, it's about making adaptations to the work environment to suit any environment, and that's really key.
Now, what are some of the adaptations, other than, of course, suggesting that you use a laptop, what are some of the other adaptations that you've made in the workplace that have made it easier for you to do your job on a daily basis?
Well, one of the things I had to do as a result of my own eye condition, and again that hypertension which led to the headaches, was start to wear sunglasses all the time, because I was in an environment where light was constantly adapting and changing. When I'm at home, I don't have that problem, because I can turn every single light in the house off. I don't need light. So, I'm sitting here in front of lights, in front of the cameras and everything else at the moment, but, all those get turned off at the end of the show, and I just go back to living in my little lightless home. And that's absolutely fine for me. And yes, I do save money on electric, which is great. But that's the point. You can adjust the environment to suit yourself, whereas in a workplace, you need to adapt into their environment, and that can be challenging. So there are a lot of benefits from working from home, technically, but also environmentally.
Now, do you find there were any pushbacks when you started working? Because I know, your day job, when you started working there, were there any pushbacks, or was it fairly open in terms of what you needed to get your job done?
Well, interestingly, when I started working there, my sight wasn't as bad as it was, and it was a charity for blind people. So you would expect, and they were very good with me, so they knew what kind of things I might need. In fact, they probably spent more time telling me about the things I could do rather than me even knowing about half the things I could do. So lighting and all of that was considered, blinds in the office, the computer side, making sure I had the right kind of size of screen. But of course, as the years have gone on and my sight's got worse, I've realised that I've had to really adapt more. I've had to do a lot more to adapt into the workplace. Open plan offices are not great for someone who listens to a computer with a screen reader, because you have voices all around you all day trying to talk to you whilst you're trying to hear a voice that's actually crammed inside your ear all the time. And that can be annoying. Again, at home, you can actually free yourself from that. You can have speakers. And for those of you who've got vision, who can see this program and actually can see behind me on the desk, I've got two big KRK 500 monitors, speakers there, which are beautiful. And listening to Jaws through that is heaven, versus being it crammed inside my ear all day as it is in the office, which actually leads to problems like ear infections, because you're wearing earphones every single day, all the time. You're never taking them out. So you might take them out for an hour at lunch and that's it. So that can lead to other problems. Having that freedom, having that ability to just relax at home. I remember seeing a tweet from a friend years ago, and this is what kind of gave me the idea. She said, I was out working from home today, just listening to Jaws without having headphones on was a joy.
Well, you know what? Not everybody has the same perspective. Not everybody has the same employer. Not everybody has the same experiences. Nope. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to bring somebody on the show who has a different perspective and who, is visually impaired and has been through, obviously, the ringer just like you have. And we're going to find out what tools he may have used to make his workplace better. But we're also going to shift and talk about at home, because when you need to bring these tools home and you're not necessarily equipped at home to do what you need to do, it can pose obviously bigger challenges. So if you guys have something to contribute, by all means, please send us an email. The email address is feedback@ami.ca. On Twitter, if you want to reach out, no problem. It is @DoubleTapCanada, and use that hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap, and we will definitely respond and get to your questions on a future show. It is Double Tap TV. He is Stephen Scott. I am Mark Aflalo. We take a quick break and come right back.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap. This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome back to Double Tap TV. I am Mark Aflalo with Stephen Scott. Thank you guys for being involved. The email address is feedback@ami.ca. On Twitter, we are @DoubleTapCanada. And don't forget that hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap.
Yeah, now listen, Mark, earlier we talked about me and my experiences going through the transition of working in an office to working from home. And of course, that's been a gradual process for me, but coronavirus has forced that upon some people, like, for example, our next guest, Jeff Bishop, who joins us from Seattle. Now, Jeff works at one of the companies that really does take accessibility very seriously, that being Microsoft. Jeff, great to have you on Double Tap TV.
Thank you.
So, you're now working at home, and it's looking likely that you'll be doing that for a little while before you go back to the office, hopefully, when things get back to whatever resembles normality in the future. How have you coped with the transition?
Well, I think it's kind of interesting to talk a little bit about what was life like at work, whether it's here at Microsoft or in my past jobs. We work together really well as teams, and lots of in-person meetings and lots of discussions with developers and people within the company, whether that was when I was working at the University of Arizona in Tucson or up here in Seattle. It pretty much was the same, where, lots of interaction, lots of hovering around screens, lots of real close, work going on together and huddling around things and really talking a lot about how to innovate and how to really move the ball forward. And so from that perspective, it's been kind of difficult, honestly, working at home to transition from that sort of close-knit, really working together. If you need to go speak to someone, you simply just get up from your desk and walk down the hall and knock on a door and go talk to someone. Now you have to really think about, oh, great, now are they going to be in a Teams meeting? Are they having lunch with their family?
It's interesting because you said all those things and you didn't mention your sight once. Because I'm thinking about the impact of someone who's totally blind, as you are, Jeff. How do you cope with this? I mean, you're fairly well equipped, I imagine, at Microsoft. So I imagine you've got all the kit you need to be able to work from home, or at least you're provided with that.
Yeah, I do. And it's interesting that you bring this up. In the beginning of all of this, we've had to really, well, not necessarily me, because we're really at an advantage in this working at home environment where we have to think about how we handle meetings and how we handle communication with everyone and trying to be inclusive, right? And not that doesn't happen at, for example, Microsoft, because it does. It really, really does. It's always part of the culture. I mean, accessibility is something that is truly happening every day, every hour at Microsoft. I mean, whatever team that I talk with, it's always center in focus. And that comes from the top, within the company. But it's interesting because, when we talk about being inclusive and thinking about how to run meetings where everyone can be involved, well, now you have to be thinking differently because not everybody has the same amount of bandwidth, right? So they may not be able to see video on their screen. Maybe they're only relying on hearing audio. So it's forced everyone to really prepare and send out material ahead of time. Not that didn't happen before, but it's even happening more now. And people are having to really think about, I better speak to these slides rather than just saying, look at this that I'm showing on this screen.
I'm guessing it's probably also pushing the tools at your disposal. And I'm talking about Microsoft software that, everybody is definitely designing with inclusion in mind and accessibility in mind. I'm guessing it's really pushing those tools to the test in a way that didn't really happen before because there wasn't really this scenario we're experiencing. Yeah,
well, that's true. And I'm also involved in lots of things outside of work, too. And we see this happening with Zoom and other platforms, too. I'm a board member of the American Council of the Blind, and we're moving our convention to a virtual convention later this summer. So that's another project that's been really top of mind for me. And we're really trying to figure out, okay, how do we take this in-person event and move it virtually and also keep it accessible and inclusive in that environment and using tools that people are already familiar with. So it's not just about work. It's about how do we shift everyone to a culture of using technology to its fullest extent in an accessible and inclusive way. So it's a pretty exciting time, to be honest.
I mean, I've certainly noticed in my job, Jeff, that I get more calls from sighted members of staff about technical queries than I do from blind members of staff. Because I think most blind people tend to kind of just get on with it. They figure it out. Or, we work in our networks to make it happen, which is really important for us to do. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because there are all these ways coming out now for ways to communicate that we're using. I mean, Zoom has jumped from, what was it again, Mark? I remember you talking about this recently. Was it so many million or so many 100,000 people were using it, and now suddenly it's millions of people using Zoom?
Yeah, well, they claimed 300 million, but then they went back and corrected that and said that was, active meeting participants. But it jumped dramatically. We're talking about over 10 times their original use case to what they're using it now.
But it's interesting, Jeff, because I think the question is, what will happen next? What will be the new normal for all of us? And I think these virtual events you talk about, whether it be for work, whether it be for leisure, whether it be for enjoyment, or entertainment or education or whatever it might be, I see real positives here because, interestingly, you talk about accessibility and you talk about inclusivity. But inclusivity is actually at the heart of all of this because it doesn't matter where you live on this planet. You can get involved with that convention or with any other.
Well, that's right. And I think that this whole situation has changed the landscape for business and just personal events as well. If we think that this is not going to become at least somewhat the norm in the future, I think personally, and I don't have any data to back this up, I just personally think that we are going to move in this direction where I think we will use more technology. We will use things where we're not necessarily meeting in person just because we've learned to be very efficient in that way.
Yeah, you know what? I think that you're dead on there, and I want to dive into that virtual event that you're specifically working on, because I want to know what you're doing on that. But let's take a quick break. It is Double Tap TV. I am Mark Aflalo. He is Stephen Scott, and our guest is Jeff Bishop. We take a quick break and come back and dive right back in.
Love Double Tap TV? Listen to AMI Audio for Double Tap Canada every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for news and reviews on everything tech. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you hadn't joined us before the break, we were talking to Jeff Bishop, who is an employee at Microsoft, but also someone who is visually impaired and working from home, just like, I guess, pretty much the world has been forced to. Jeff, you were talking about this event that you are now going to be moving from this now physical event to obviously online. But before we dive into, obviously the technology and the things that you're doing when you're, going down this road, what do you think is the biggest thing we're going to miss? Is it just the face-to-face, that person-to-person interaction that we had? Because, I mean, there are ways to mimic that online, but never that face-to-face, right?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we're going to miss. There's a lot to be said for sitting around a table, having lunch or having dinner and just chatting or just laughing and having a great time and building up friendships. I think that's the part that I really miss, is being with people. Coming from a very geek background, I know that's kind of an odd thing to say, but I really enjoy being around, my coworkers and being around people. It is something that really is important. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we're missing from work or at play or at conventions or whatever we're doing. I think that is a key component. Now, we try to improvise and do some fun things where we do virtual lunches and, we have situations where we play games together virtually and things like that. But it's still not the same, and whether you're blind or whether you can see, it doesn't matter. I think the principle is exactly the same. Being around people, high-fiving people, just seeing them, talking to them face to face. Those things are important. They're part of the human factor, and they're just things that eventually we want to get back to.
I mean, that experience that blind people tend to have, especially if you go to a convention. I've been to the NFB convention, the National Federation of the Blind Convention in the States. And, it is very much about that. It's that social atmosphere, and your event will be the same. It's about meeting people from other places, talking about experiences, all of that. And you can do that on Zoom and you can do that on Skype, and it's all fine. But it isn't the same, is it? It's just not the same. Although, I do want to say to you, and I just want to get your view on this. I am one of those people, and maybe it's just me, but I'm one of those kind of people who just I'm not finding this difficult. I'm not finding this lockdown hard. I'm not finding this a challenge. In fact, if anything else, I feel I'm thriving in it in some ways, because I feel that having all of the capability, I was talking about this in the first segment with Mark, having all the technology here at my disposal in the way I like it, laid out the way I like it, set up the way I need it, I'm able to just get on with things. I don't have to stop and think, oh, hang on, this needs to be done, or someone's moved this keyboard over here and I can't find it, or, and wasting time on silly things. Everything's in place. Everything's where I need it. And, I'm very fortunate to have a nice house and a space to walk around outside, so I don't have to worry about the leisure aspects of it. But I am noticing that I'm feeling a lot more at ease mentally. And that's in regards to the workplace as well. I'm feeling I'm getting more stuff done because I'm not sitting in an open office with Jaws rabbiting in my ear whilst everyone else is talking away around me. What do you think about that? I mean, I know you've said you prefer to be amongst your colleagues. Maybe it's just I don't know. What do you think?
I think that you're right. That it's just interesting, though. I think. Since I live in actually Kirkland here in Washington, housing is extremely expensive here. So, I live in about a 850 square foot apartment, and so space is at a minimum here. So you have family around, and there's noise all around. So there's distractions in that respect, which make things a little more difficult. I think if I had more space, it wouldn't be as difficult to do that. So that's the part that makes this just slightly more difficult. As far as just working, you're right. I mean, I have everything I need here. I have my laptop. I have whatever I need to do. I have my phone. Whatever I need to do, I can manage from a work perspective. One of the things I was going to say is that the leadership at Microsoft have always put people first. And one of the things they've always told us is, hey, take a break when you need it. Go for a walk. Break up your day by doing that. Spend time with your family. That's part of just managing the whole, just mental aspect of working from home and this whole situation that we're in. And I feel that is really critically important. I try to walk about 3 to 4 miles a day to try to get exercise in since I can't go to the gym. And I find that really breaks up the day for me to be able to just get out and be thinking about work tasks or, participate in a meeting where I can listen and provide feedback back, but also be in a different place where it just feels different. And so that's important as well.
Yeah, mental health is key.
Do you find yourself exercising more now because you have the opportunity and taking meetings while out and about?
Well, I will say this. I am still losing weight during this situation, which I don't think most people are right now, at least from what I've been hearing on social media. A lot of people are eating a lot. And I'm doing pretty good. I'm still doing the whole journey thing, and I'm really happy about that. So I'm just trying to be really mindful of that. And that's really hard, by the way. I have a fridge just right, just very, very close by. And, so, or snacks or whatever the case may be. And that's also another distraction of, oh my gosh, okay. Where it's a little more difficult to have access to that when you're at work. You have to go down to the cafeteria or whatever, or go to the vending machine, which is my, virtual enemy now. And you know what I mean? So it's one of those situations that that's another distraction factor, but it's okay. We're doing okay. We're managing that. And I don't know that it's more exercise. It's different exercise. Whereas before I could go to the gym and run on a treadmill, now I'm actually having to truly walk to get that exercise in actual real space. So it feels different, and perhaps I don't get as much exercise doing that, but I'm getting enough where at least I'm continuing to progress on my goals, which is a good thing.
Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I wish we had more time to spend with you, but alas, we don't. I hope you keep safe, and I hope you come back and join us on a future show. Enjoy yourself at home a bit. Try to remember that you can have some fun too.
Well, thank you, and you guys stay safe as well.
It is Double Tap TV. Again, thank you guys for being here as well. On behalf of Stephen Scott, I am Mark Aflalo. Do connect with us online. Does feedback at ami.ca and at Double Tap Canada on Twitter with the hashtag AskDoubleTap. Thanks, guys, for being here. We'll see you next week.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap.
Hosted by Mark Aflalo and Stephen Scott. Editing, Will Attar and Mark Aflalo. Production assistants, Wendy Kaufman. Integrated Described Video Specialist, Ron Rickford. Coordinating producer, Jennifer Johnson. Director Production, Kara Nye. Director Programming, Brian Perdue. VP Programming and Production, John Melville. President and CEO, David Errington. Copyright 2020, Accessible Media, Inc.